Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Lancescurv. Today's topic, the raw realities of America, came into my mind because many people here where I live in West Africa and many other places, they really feel as though America is heaven on earth. Now, you've never known me to be a patriotic individual as far as America first, because I always had a global mindset. So when I noticed the things that America did worldwide, from observing the different periodicals and websites that spoke directly to the tragedies that America caused and the blood that America had in its hands, I was always viewed as an oddball in a way, because there are people who wanted to keep their heads in the sand. And I just wasn't going for that. I had to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Because it's easy to get caught up in the propaganda that America puts out and for its own people. And yes, I am an American. I am not living in America now. And next month would be 5 years that I have lived in West Africa. And I'm very content. But I'm also a Ghanaian by citizenship, officially. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to turn my back on my people in America and just act as though I don't have any interest there, because there are many people there who I care for a lot. And I don't want to see the place go down. But I can't lie about it. Like that child that's questioned by the school counselors about the marks that they have on their body across their face. That child was truth about their beyond. And maybe some of the older sisters and brothers of that child will say, "You betrayed us." But it's nothing healthy about withholding and being quiet about dysfunction. And that's how I've always stood. And that's what I was taught from birth, because aside from an older brother who may have been on drugs, which he was, I didn't have any dysfunctions in the household. None at all. The same growing pains that other people have, but I just never had those dysfunctions. But I will say this. The world has been trained to see America as a land of opportunity, wealth, and endless chances. The media paints a picture of bright lights, freedom, and prosperity. But behind that polished image lies a reality most people will never see until they step foot on American soil. The truth is cold, raw, and very much unforgiving. For those who dream of moving to the United States, let these words open your eyes. I've done almost 60 years here, and I can tell you firsthand the daily struggles of millions of Americans are hidden behind Hollywood films, smiling politicians, and glamorous commercials. What you are sold is a dream, but the reality is a nightmare for countless people. This is not about discouragement without reason. It's about statistics, real conditions, and the pain of the communities who have been suffering for generations. While America gives billions to other countries, its own citizens, especially the Black community, are left drowning in crime, poverty, homelessness, poor education, and broken families. Understand this: America is not one country with one face. It's many nations inside one, state by state, city by city, each carrying its own crisis. From failing schools to rising HIV rates, from overcrowded prisons to children without fathers, America is surely bleeding. But no matter what I tell individuals here in West Africa who see me as a representative of America, which I am not a representative, I can't represent the country with the dirty deeds that it does, but I'll tell it the truth. No matter what I say, they look at me in disbelief, and they have a look on their face as though I'm telling a lie. But I'll give you this raw and uncut. I'm speaking to those all over the world. Let's break down the illusions and deal with the facts, because only then can we understand what life in the United States truly means. I'm going to break down a few statistics that I researched that are up to date at this particular time on August 27th, 2025. For those who may hear this years from now and say his statistics are wrong, these are generalized and specific, and you can look them up. Healthcare in the United States is not a right. It's a business. States with the worst health care include Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, West Virginia, Alabama, Oklahoma, Kentucky, South Carolina, Texas, and Georgia. In these places, access to doctors is limited. Hospitals are underfunded, and people die younger. Black communities are hit hard with higher rates of diabetes, hypertension, and infant mortality. In Mississippi, life expectancy drops dramatically in Black neighborhoods compared to wealthier white suburbs. This is a fact. Sweet D, welcome on in. I'm glad to see you here. West Virginia is plagued by the opioid epidemic, leaving families shattered and children in foster care. Louisiana reports one of the highest maternal death rates for Black women in the developed world. Texas and Georgia have refused to expand Medicaid fully, leaving millions without coverage. These states prove that the so-called land of the free cannot even keep its citizens alive. America is drowning in crime, and the statistics do not lie. The states with the highest violent crime rates are Louisiana, New Mexico, Alaska, Arkansas, Tennessee, Missouri, South Carolina, Arizona, Nevada, and Alabama. Sweetberry, 32. We're getting the superstars in now. But you know what? When they say the states with the highest violent crime rates, and I found out that Alaska was up there, I'm like, wait a second, this place is too cold. Alaska? We don't even think about Alaska. It's way up there. It's not even the continental United States. It's too cold for crime. What kind of crime goes on there? I'm going to dig into that at a later date because that piqued my interest. It is, sweet tea. It's a cesspool out here. It is. And again, for everybody who tunes in, whether it's now during this live or later on when it's a replay, please don't think that I'm doing the in America. No, because I flip the same way. Don't you think that I have friends that get sick, that I have friends that are victims of crime, that I have friends who have nervous breakdowns, that I have friends who are really, really sick. And they're feeling this at this part in their life, in my age group. And it hurts because this is part of my past, my history. My root is in America. Just because one of my branches is hanging over another yard where I am now doesn't mean that my history is erased. My root is in America. I still dream as though I'm there. I don't dream anywhere else. Even when I was in Orlando, Florida, I don't dream that, oh, I'm in Orlando. No, it's always New York City. That's my foundation, my psychological root, and what made me to what I am today. And I can't deny that. So I care for it. I don't care for the wickedness. Hope Rice, welcome on in, peace and love. Diane, welcome on in. Exactly, Hope. It doesn't mean I'm not affected. I get phone calls that break my heart. I get good news too. But just because I'm over here doesn't mean I turn my back and thumb my nose at people. No. I check the news over there all the time. I know what's going on in my old neighborhood in Queens. Trust and believe. Yes, indeed. Cities like St. Louis, Missouri, Baltimore, Maryland, Detroit, Michigan, Memphis, Tennessee, and New Orleans in Louisiana have become symbols of urban violence. In Alaska, domestic violence and sexual assaults are alarmingly high. New Mexico consistently ranks in the top for aggravated assaults. I didn't know that. Arkansas and South Carolina both report high homicide rates. Gun violence is rampant across the nation. In Illinois, particularly Chicago, gun-related homicides dominate headlines. Children die in schools from mass shootings, while young Black men are profiled, targeted, and killed in the streets. Communities live in fear, and families are torn apart. America hides its poor very well, yet the numbers speak louder than the propaganda. The poorest states in the nation are Mississippi, Louisiana, New Mexico, Arkansas, Kentucky, West Virginia, Alabama, Oklahoma, South Carolina, and Tennessee. That doesn't mean they don't have pockets of communities there of people who don't look like us, who live very affluent, who benefit from keeping us poor over there. The truth must be told. But entire communities live on food stamps and government aid, struggling to pay rent or buy basic groceries. In Mississippi and Louisiana, more than 18% of the population lives below the poverty line. New Mexico and Arkansas show alarming child poverty rates. West Virginia suffers from job losses due to coal industry decline. They really depended on that coal, leaving entire towns destitute. Black families suffer the most, with unemployment rates often double that of whites. In Alabama and South Carolina, joblessness among young Black men pushes them into the underground economy, fueling crime and incarceration. While the government spends money overseas, its own people starve in silence. The image of a homeless person in America is not just a stereotype, it is reality. The states with the largest homeless populations are California, New York, Florida, Texas, Washington, Oregon, Arizona, Nevada, Massachusetts, and Pennsylvania. In California, cities like Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Oakland are flooded with tent cities. New York has tens of thousands of people living in shelters. Florida and Texas show large unsheltered homeless populations, with people sleeping in cars, parks, and under bridges. Washington and Oregon suffer from growing drug epidemics alongside homelessness. Many of these individuals are Black men and women who slip through the cracks of a broken system. Shelters are overcrowded, drug addiction is rampant, and mental health care is almost non-existent. The HIV epidemic still haunts America, especially in the Black community. The states with the highest HIV rates are Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, Texas, New York, Maryland, Mississippi, South Carolina, North Carolina, and California. In Florida and Georgia, HIV rates among Black men who have sex with men are some of the highest in the world. Louisiana and Texas have growing HIV cases in both urban and rural areas. Maryland and New York remain hotspots for HIV in major cities. Black women, especially in the South, face increasing risk due to limited health care and lack of prevention education. This is not just a medical issue, it is a reflection of America's neglect. When clinics close, when sex education is banned, when resources are denied, the most vulnerable surely suffer. America is the prison capital of the entire world. The states with the highest incarceration rates include Louisiana, Oklahoma, Mississippi, Alabama, Texas, Arkansas, Arizona, Missouri, Georgia, and Florida. In Louisiana, the incarceration rate is nearly double the national average. Oklahoma leads in female incarceration. Mississippi and Alabama run overcrowded, violent prisons. Texas has some of the harshest sentencing laws. Georgia and Florida profit heavily from private prisons. Black men are locked up at rates 5 times higher than white men across all these states. The school to prison pipeline is real. Black children who drop out of failing schools often end up behind bars. Minor drug charges destroy entire lives, while corporations profit from prison labor. Ain't that a damn shame? The breakdown of the family has crippled the Black community. States with the highest rates of single-parent households include Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, South Carolina, Arkansas, Georgia, North Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, and Florida. In these states, fatherless homes are the majority in many Black neighborhoods. Children grow up without guidance, without protection, and without the stability they deserve. Single mothers fight to survive on low wages while raising children alone, fueling cycles of poverty, incarceration, and hopelessness. When poverty, joblessness, and homelessness collide, prostitution becomes a last resort. States and cities with high prostitution and trafficking issues include Nevada, Las Vegas, New York, California, Los Angeles and San Francisco, Florida, Miami, Illinois, Chicago, and Texas, Houston, and Dallas. Young Black women stripped of opportunity fall into sex work just to survive. Human trafficking is rampant in these states, and the victims are often women of color, aka Black. Behind glittering lights of these cities is a world of broken bodies and stolen dreams. Education is supposed to be the great equalizer, but in America, it is the great divider. The states with the worst public education systems include New Mexico, Louisiana, Arizona, Nevada, Mississippi, Alabama, Alaska, West Virginia, South Carolina, and Oklahoma. In these places, Black children are trapped in underfunded schools with outdated books and overcrowded classrooms. In Mississippi, literacy rates are some of the lowest in the nation. Arizona and Nevada rank poorly in graduation rates. West Virginia and Alabama report high dropout rates among minority students. Dropping out has become a common, hold on a second, I have a malfunction here. Let me make sure to take care of that and get rid of that. Yes. Okay, let me get back. Dropping out has become common. And once that happens, the path to prison is almost guaranteed. With artificial intelligence and automation tracking jobs, the few opportunities left demand higher education. But when schools fail, children fail, and entire generations are lost. This is the reality of America. It's not the polished image on the TV screen. It's the cries of the mothers, the broken lives of the fathers, and the shattered dreams of children, while billions are sent overseas, just like they do in Ukraine and Israel. Billions, the citizens of the United States, live in chaos. Understand that America is not the dream you were told it is. It is a nightmare for many, and especially for the Black community. Every statistic tells a story of suffering, and every number represents a human life destroyed by a failing system. That's why I'll always continue to speak boldly without fear, because the world needs to see past the mask of America. It is not a paradise. It is a prison, a battlefield, and a graveyard for too many. To those thinking of moving to the United States, take these words as a warning. Do not be fooled by the media's lies. Look deeper, ask questions, and know that the cost of chasing the American dream is often your soul. The truth is harsh, but it must be told. And as long as I have breath, I'll always continue to tell it, no matter how many channels they want to take down, no matter what. When I get on this flow, I'm going to tell it. I'm going to continue to do so. But I had to speak that today, and I had to point a few people to this program tonight, because there's some people who would sell their soul to come to America. They would. I saw it change. I saw it changing a long time ago. You know, a long time ago. It's just like when you have the crabs in the water, or the frog in the water, or the lobster in the water, and the water's cool, and they put the fire under the water, and it gets a little warm, but you don't notice it. By the time that the water hits, it's too late. And that's what I see there. I mean, the money is diminished. $2 today is not what it was 40 and 50 years ago. The American dream of everybody owning a home is giving you the feeling like you just missed the bus and it's way down the next two streets and you're trying to chase it, and eventually you give up. I'm not trying to discourage anybody, but even when you do everything right, from what I see, it doesn't add up. Me and Mr. Scurv in America, and we got to a certain point, and I said, hey, wait a second. We got this amount of mortgage to pay, time-wise. This is the age that we are. You mean we got to work until that particular age to pay this thing off? Because even though we were due to get Social Security, which I receive now, and my retirement, that wouldn't have been enough because of inflation. So for me, I'm a citizen of the world. I look at the same sun everybody in America looks at. You know what I mean? When nighttime comes and I look at the moon, it's the same moon, same plants, different climate, different setup. But I had to move myself to a place where I can relax, because that's when you realize the water's too hot for many and they can't get out. And again, I'm not saying that you have to get out, because if you have your acts together, I'm not saying people don't have their act together, but if you have a plan and you have individuals with you, as far as a family or a mate, you can find places in America that are a lot easier. But the thing is, even if you do everything right, okay, and I'm going to drop the link for anybody who might want to come in and add a little bit, but I had to speak my 2 cents there and get those facts out. I'm going to continue to update them and speak on different aspects. I still have to check Alaska. Man, I didn't know Alaska had such high crime rate. It's too cold to commit crime up there. But there's a StreamYard link, yo. Anybody wants to pop in. But again, like I said, it began to lose its flavor for me when I woke up. Even New York City, which to me, at one point, wasn't so bad when I was younger. But then again, I was raised by 2 good parents that kept me away from stuff. They didn't shelter me. They showed me all the stuff, but it didn't affect me, because what I had at home was so much of an attractant that I knew what was going on in the streets, because my father showed me the real nitty-gritty. So I knew the difference between there and home, and I didn't have any curiosity to remove me out of my home and do things to get me locked up or try things to make me high and take my mind away. I was taught to have pride and take care of my body, take care of my mind, and keep my head right. And so I saw a lot of examples of people who fell victim. And when the crack epidemic happened, and many people who I went to school with, went to school with. There's one young lady who, in elementary school, we all had a crush on her. And her name is out there in the neighborhood. And I won't really say her last name, but I'll say her first name, because we all know she was one of the most beautiful young ladies you ever want to see. Guaranteed to be some type of supermodel. She stopped traffic even when she was younger. She was just such a doll. Nice person and everything. Melissa. And she ended up being one of the worst crack addicts in our neighborhood. And her beauty got sucked away. I couldn't believe it. I heard about it. And I was at the gas station pumping gas into my car. And this young lady walks up to me, try to solicit, sexual activity. When I turned around, she was saying it before she saw me and looked at my face. And I turned around and I was in shock, and she was in shock, not as much as me, because she was so taken by that drug. I said, Melissa, I didn't want to say anything to hurt her feelings, but she already knew how I felt. That one hit home, man. I didn't see her for years. Different people that I haven't seen for a while, and you see them in the street doing certain things. You see pastors doing that handshake with the crack. The local pastor was a crackhead. And then the crime, the frustration, fighting hard, running the treadmill. Even back then, I began to see it and started to feel it. So more and more of my friends from New York, they moved south, down to Florida, Georgia, Alabama, different places, Texas. They say, hey, man, it's so much easier down here. It's so much better down here. The air is cleaner. It's less crime. There's crime, but not like New York City. And so it became an option on the menu of life that maybe one day I will move down south. People were telling me. And I eventually, after my mother passed away, I hung on for a couple of years in New York City, but more and more of my friends were moving away. And I had young children coming up, and the sting of the crack era was still there. It was still going on. So I said, you know what? It's between Georgia and Orlando, Florida, and I chose Orlando. A lot of propaganda that I read that got me down there, but still, it was better at that time in early 2001, than it was in New York City, where things were getting so expensive, even from back then. So I sold my property and moved down, figuring I made a good move. But the same factors over time were trickling down. Certain people that I knew from the city that I didn't really hang out with because of certain reasons, you wouldn't catch me hanging out with them because of the things that they did. I'm bumping into them down in Orlando. Orlando started getting worse. I started working in the jail and seeing old buddies of mine that I grew up with. Like, man, this is crazy. But I caught the tail end of it. They got worse and worse and worse. And yes, there's a lot of propaganda, but Orlando, them back streets and them hoods and them, man, shoot, it's frightening. And then I started to drive the bus out in the streets, and I got a chance to see what it was like. And I drove the routes that had the stigma or the reputation of being hood routes, which I hate to say, basically they were. And I got to know people on the outside that I knew incarcerated. And many of them, I would drive the bus route, and you see the police taping off an area for investigation. And you see one of those buddies of mine that I knew in the street from in the jail, oftentimes on their back or on their stomach with a bullet to the head and blood all over the place before the ambulance came. So I started to see this shift that you can't get away from this thing in America unless you go way out in the country somewhere, and you still better have some protection. And I didn't want to live a life where I had to keep moving, not running. I can deal. Look, you can put me in the worst part of New York City, the worst part of Chicago. Do I want to go there? No. But if I had to, I can handle it because I still have that chip inside of me to be able to handle it, that radar. I don't only use radar. I'm not old, but when I have to be looking over the shoulder all the time. I wanted a place that felt like forever. Like there may be minor changes. Somebody across the road builds a house, somebody over here, over there. But I wanted to live in a place that I knew was going to be stable, not changing as fast, where you know the people, where you can walk freely. And I said to myself, if I had to leave the country to have that and have that peace of mind, then so be it. Then so be it. It's for everybody to make up their mind and make up whatever decision they have. We might not order the same restaurant when we go on a dinner date or hang out. We could be the best of friends and not like what each other orders. That's okay. Whatever takes you to that place. And everybody has different situations. I always say this. Everybody has different situations at home. They may have an elderly parent, a special needs child. They may not have enough money saved up to exit. You need an income when you leave the country. I understand. And I'm still on a budget. I don't mind that. For what I'm getting, I'm cool. I'll wait till next month if that needs be. I got no problem with that because it's a peace of mind and ability to navigate freely. And out here, you have some petty crimes. But anywhere in Ghana where there's a shootout, that is some big news. There was something that happened, I think, 2 years ago down in Accra, but it was between people who lived on the same block or they had a beef, and they just shot the gun down. They didn't shoot at each other. I'm like, wow. They didn't even have a shootout with each other. Nobody was killed. They just shot down to scare each other. You know, the mentality of the people. Like I said, you know, the economy recently got a little better for Ghanaians, the exchange rate, since everything is based off the dollar, but it's kind of trickling up a little more because it fluctuates. So there is a lot of poverty here, but poverty here looks different because there's always something you can do for yourself. Even though many who are here don't have that hustle, some do, some don't. But put it this way, if I was to be homeless, I'd rather be homeless out here. There's so much land. There's so many places you can create a little spot for yourself out in the woods. All this fruit growing, different, you'll eat, and nobody's on you that way. And there are people who are here who do have mental issues, who are homeless. There was a time when crack was really bad out here, several decades ago. They have another thing called red that's pretty bad out here in certain areas, and a lot of the downtrodden youngsters are getting into that because there's not many opportunities. There's some opportunities coming, but this is what happens when you have other countries who deal with your leaders and they kind of sway things away for a good setup to take over your country. And, you know, America has their eyes on Africa, Russia, China do. And China, even though there's annexation, China's doing a lot of things here in a way that is, I can't say super fair, but I can't say it's being a crook either. The folks here need to wake up and do for themselves, like Ibrahim Traore in Burkina Faso. And youngsters are waking up, but the opportunities are just not there. And this is what points them to wanting to look toward America when they get on their phones and they see the smooth streets in the nicer parts of America. They don't go down to some spots in Mississippi and Louisiana and where the flooding is going on and the schools are overcrowded. They don't speak about that. You know, they don't show that. So I just wish that those who want to come wake up and see what they can do for themselves elsewhere. And I hope that many of us unify more so in America, because a lot of us are not. You know, a lot of us are not, and that's to our detriment. We have more categories of Black people in America. I'm speaking just about America. And the FBA and the ADOS, and there's all these other little ones that are popping up. And then the whole sexuality thing, you know, I'm gender fluid, I'm trans, I'm this, it's just, and it's separate, it's diluting us. We all got the same enemy, and we all split up. So from this perspective, looking at it through the news and of course through the people that I speak to frequently, especially here in the chat room, it doesn't seem to be getting any better. But everybody else is benefiting from our money. The little money we have, but the great money we have collectively. We can do so much. And everybody else is coming to America, and Asians and Indians and all these other people coming, sticking together, even when they have their own disputes, their own ways of being separate. At the end of the day, they're not letting nobody else step on one of their own. Too many of us will sell each other out so quick and be so hateful. And we don't like it when other people are doing good and we're not doing as good. Who knows what that person had to do to get what they have or to the position that they're in, their status. Who knows? What's for you is for you, and what's for them. You may have greater things coming your way, more so than the next person. You're watching the next person and you'll lose your blessings. You see? That's right. Oh, God, really? Sister Diane, let me amplify this on the screen. I'm glad to be living during this time and praying for our people. They say the C-19 is starting again. Yeah, they're going to, I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for it. And they're going to try to close down the borders and all this stuff. But the thing that I'm leery of, that would be worse in a different way, is if they have artificially induced cyber attack on the world. And those of us who depend on the system, we're going to be screwed. I'm way out here and I somewhat still depend on the system because I still bank in America. I have bank accounts out here. All that shut down. The digital money is not going nowhere. Whatever you have is what you have. Things will shut down, that we need food, we can't buy it because we can't get that money. What's going to happen then? AI is on the horizon. They're going to be taking over more and more jobs. So it's going to be our unity that helps us out. We're going to have to go back to bartering. Circumvent the dollar. Go back to bartering. What is it that you can offer the world that is valuable and you can trade with somebody else who has a valuable skill or positioning like a farmer who, farms and has food, and you do something that they can give you food for. This is where we have to think. We have to think beyond money. It's beyond cryptocurrency. Bartering is the best. That's the original, and that's the best. That's the best. So how can we position ourselves? Yeah, you're right, Diane. She says, I believe that's the excuse they will use. Yep. We got to try to live our lives where at the end of the day, there's no excuses. We have to look things dead in the eye, and the escapism has to stop. That's the biggest thing. Our minds, taking back control of our minds. And just like I started to incorporate in my day, and I heard this on a video, a friend of Steve Jobs that worked with him also. He was a friend and he worked with him, and he said, yeah, basically Steve Jobs was very much a prick to the people who worked under him and everything. He said, but I'll take this from him. He would wake up and have a list of the 10 most important things that he has to do for that day. And I mentioned this before. It was so clear to me. He said he would take the top 3 and go at it relentless in the morning time. When he woke up, he had his own ritual. I don't know whether the guy drank coffee or ran around the block a couple of times, whatever, but that first 3 out of that list of 10, he was going to die getting that done. The most important things on that list. And he was still relentless with the rest of them. But if he didn't get the rest of them done, if he got up to number 6 or number 7, he got the top 3 finished. Right? So those other ones can carry over. They can carry over. What was that? cell phone company that carried over the minutes. Was it Singular? Remember Singular? They carry over the minutes from month to month. Well, he would carry over those goals that he had from the prior day to the next day, unless there was something else that he had to insert on that list. Many of us, we wake up in the morning time. Of course, many of us who have to get up and go to work, and but oftentimes we get up and the first thing we grab is our phone and start scrolling. I got a lot of things going on out here, construction-wise and different things. I'm in a new land. Yes, I do check my messages first thing. But the endless scrolling that takes away your momentum and your focus on what must be done. You have to go at things with a sense of urgency, as though your life depended on it in this day and age, because sooner or later you're going to be forced into doing things that you never thought that you would do. I'm not saying anything bad. I'm not saying any crime or prostitution or anything, but figuring out how you're going to kill the hunger in your stomach. You see what I mean? When there's no food, what you going to do? Boil grass? You'll consider it. Throw a little salt in that bad boy and eat grass, just like any other cow. But do you want to wait for that? Diane says, I'm currently in Atlanta. HIV, AIDS, herpes, monkeypox, flesh-eating disease, and other STDs are being seen in the emergency rooms out here. God, Lord. But you get on social media. Me as a man, you see these women who are so well built, gyrating, and it makes you, if you don't have your mind right, you want to go out there and get the first thing you see that looks like one of those images. And your desires will whisper into your ear and lie to you. You can get away with that one time. She don't look like she have anything. And the same, I'm not putting it on the women, same as for the men. When women see talking, whatever, you don't know if this man's messing around with another man. I mean, but you don't know what he's doing. And there's a lot of men out here messing with men, y'all. And they hide it well. They hide it well. Sometimes they choose you to be the beard. That's the cover up for what they really want to do. Or they just live their life and just mess with multiple men. Now, ladies, if there was a day out of the year where men can do whatever they want to do and get away with it, they'll do it. And you know how they would be. They wouldn't have any consideration or respect. They just walk up to you and start touching you and walk up on you. That's their unbridled sex drive. Just amped up from the porn and the images and all of this available stuff, being titillated. It doesn't mean you're supposed to disrespect somebody. So imagine if they have this same sex drive turned in on each other on the next man. He walking around amped up and horny. This next one, and they looking at each other. They don't even have to say a word. They see each other in public, make a little motion with the eyes. It's all in the eyes, y'all. It's all in the eyes. And women don't pick that up. You can have somebody right next to you communicating with the next man. You in the supermarket checkout line, and there's one in front of you, and there's one behind you, and they turn around and see each other, and it's this way that they glare at each other for a second. Split second. You have the ability to see it, but it's a frequency that really you don't look for on your mental radio, so to say, ladies. I told this story before, and I was in Atlanta, and I don't know what's that, the Lenox Mall, I think it is. I was there, and I was at a few other malls, but I believe this was at the Lenox Mall. I was sitting in the food court. With each food court, you have restrooms nearby, right? So I'm sitting there at this table by myself. Mrs. Scurv was with me, but she was actually with a mutual friend of ours, and she went off with her. And they were shopping. I sat by myself. I said, listen, I'm too hungry. Y'all go walking around. I didn't eat. So there was a guy sitting at a table, probably about maybe 25 feet away from me. And there was another family about 15 feet away from me to my left. So the family, 2 daughters and a son, the wife and the husband. So I'm glancing around. I always watch behind me, left and right. I'm always got my eyes peeled at everything, looking at every little detail around me. So I was facing this guy that was 25 feet away from me. He was sitting by himself at the table. So I'm scanning the whole place. I'm always looking for the first sign of some crap to happen so I can act accordingly. I'm not paranoid. That's just the way I think. I've been through a lot. So I noticed this guy, he had fixed his eyes directly at me, staring. So I'm scanning, I look, okay, he's looking this way. Maybe he's looking at me for a second. He kept staring like laser beams in my eyes. So I looked back at him quick, and he gave me that glare. It's a certain look. I don't want to say the F word, the FAG word, right? But I used to call it the FAG glare. Like they're throwing this strong signal at you through their eyes. And I saw it, and I gave him a look like, that's not happening. You know what I mean? Very subtle. I don't get mad. That's Atlanta. I don't care where it is. You got it going on out here too. Not aggressive like that, but I see them little buggers. So he gave up on me. He wasn't getting nowhere anyway. So I'm sitting there still eating. I had a big plate I forgot what it was, but man, it was good. So I look over toward the family sitting closer to me, about 15 feet. And this single dude on the pickup tip, he started looking at the husband of the family. And so I was close enough to them to hear him talk to his wife. After about 10 minutes of them guys looking at each other, the wife didn't detect it because the little girls and the son, they had the mother preoccupied, but that father, he caught that eye contact. And I heard him. I didn't hear every single word, but he rubbed his stomach and said, honey, I'm going to be in there for a while. I got to go to the bathroom. There's something about this food that didn't agree with me. So that bought him time to go to the bathroom. So he was staring at the other guy. He kept looking over there when he said that to let the other guy know, I'm going into this bathroom. Now, this mall wasn't crowded on this day, right? Had people there, traffic, but it wasn't like a Saturday afternoon, or this was during the week and was earlier in the day. So this guy got up and walked to the restroom in a deliberate way and turned back to the other guy. I observed all of this. The other guy was done with his food. He let the guy go in and he got up and started walking in. You wouldn't have noticed this unless you saw all of this going on. And with me, this guy was looking at me. That let me know what he was. So I'm watching this thing play out like it's a nature show, the animal kingdom or something. You know what I mean? You have somebody as a predator looking after another animal to get him, right? But he went in there. I couldn't believe it. I said, I can't believe this thing. I mean, you see things on TV and you see, I watched this thing play out and this guy got up and left his family. I was too nosy. I went in there too after about 5 minutes. I didn't see nobody. I had to pee anyway. But I heard a little noise in the stall, a couple stalls down. I jumped down into the push-up position. The floors were clean. And I looked and I saw, because I watched their shoes. I saw the family man. I didn't see them. I saw their shoes. The family man, his brown shoes, he was sitting on the toilet evidently, and his feet were pointed out. And the single dude, his shoes were between the family man's shoes facing in. So you know what the family man was doing. This family man with 2 daughters and a son outside in the food court was giving head to the dude that he just had eye contact with. I got up, I got out of there, man. I was like, I wasn't trying to see nothing, but it's one of them times like, no. How they say it in the South? Hell no. That's what it was. And that's how quick it can be. I didn't mean to change the subject of, but we're talking about these things. And this is why this HIV is so, and it could be from those who share needles. And yeah, there's going to be instances of that. There's going to be, and from what I heard, the smallest category where there's transmissions is with the lesbians. I can't confirm it, but I heard that. I'm going to look into that. Because what are they doing? They're not going up in each other unless they got a strap on, but it's just a little licky and what, I guess whatever else. But the men and how they don't care and how they'll finish with one and go see another one on fire and keep going and keep going and keep going and can't stop. You know how much of a tormented life that is? Even if you come out the closet, you can't stop. You can't stop. And then when you're a father and you're doing this and you got your wife and she gets it and the kids got to deal with that. We already have a lot of broken homes. Who knows how much that contributes to that? I mean, we have pressure coming from all ends of the spectrum. And even if you live a perfect life, you're going to feel it through your family, the people around you, the stress. In America, sometimes you can feel as though like the walls are closing in on you. Jack Griffin in the house. What do you say? Man, you were Marlon Perkins. Jack Griffin. That's a brother, like I always say when he comes on, we go back to the 70s. That's right. If somebody writes a book about me, Jack Griffin got to have a couple chapters in there. And I know that I'll be surprised, man. You knew that much? But yeah, it's unbelievable, this world that we live in. I know biblically what they predicted, and I gotta say they were right on point. A lot of the things you see now, they're right on point. I know it's been tampered with, but I remember what my mother told me. And really and truly, just like the lobster, the frog, in the water that's being warmed up, boiling, on its way to boiling, we don't feel the change. When I really think about it, and when I listen to some of the old shows that I had put up in the last few days, and I'm going strong in there talking and everything, other people talking, and it's 2015. I'm like, that's 10 years ago. Do you realize how time is moving? Even though time is an artificial construct on the spiritual level. I don't believe on the next level there's something called time. That's something we all agree on because of the rotation of the planets and stuff. And I know that does have an effect on us. It has to. When the full moon is out and the tide goes high, well, we're made of water also. It's got to affect us. Sometimes crime gets higher, different frustrations happen, whatever. We are governed by natural laws. I don't know where to draw the line, but I know that happens. There's a rhythm in nature. It's like the caterpillars that I see crawling around out here. I just saw one a little while ago. And he was getting up. In the daytime, I didn't know we have a lot of lizards around here. Big ones, little ones, they don't bother me. They run away from you. But they eat the caterpillars. I didn't know that. I had to research that. There's a big caterpillar came running toward me. Scared me. It couldn't do anything to me. But there was a caterpillar about 3 feet from my feet, and the lizard came and ate it up. So there's a natural rhythm to it. But with what we're going on with as human beings, it's we're messing the natural order up. We can't whip it. It's too big, but we're not living as we should. Everything that's natural is warped and turned inside out, and we're feeling it. I'm not saying Ghana is better than this place, or there are other countries where that I've researched, especially in Africa, that offer different things on certain levels even better, but here and there. But what are you going to do? You can't just keep moving every 6 months. But what I can extract from where I am, I'm good. I still miss the face-to-face contact with a brother like Jack Griffin and others. Let me see what brother Jack Griffin is saying. Scare, remember I saw you noticed that look from that female in Orlando in the park, that area with friends. You pointed it out to me. Yes. yes. And you're good too, brother. You don't miss anything, but yeah, I watch everything. And I mean, I don't walk around the street paranoid, but I get into a certain zone where it's the little things that tell me a lot, the body language and just the little things. Even when I draw in my artwork, things that I've captured on a small level, I put it in there so you can see it. It's always that split-second thing, that unguarded expression, that quick look that they don't have a chance to shield and conjure up a different look as a mask. Those are the things that tell me a lot. See? Yeah. Diane says they're beginning to prosecute people in court here for giving HIV to others if they knew they were carriers. It should be. It should. That's a charge right there. I know in Florida, that's the deal. You knowingly give that to somebody and you have it. Oh, yeah. And there's some people out here who go out on purpose to infect others because they got caught like that. Imagine that. Instead of saying, hey, I believe in a supreme being and I was doing things I shouldn't have been doing. I'll take this one, but you know what? I'm not going to do this to nobody else. There's resentments out here. You see, one of the things I always say, we judge the state of the world by our own mind, and we can't do that. If you're a nice person, don't think that everybody who's smiling is a nice person. The thief always thinks somebody is trying to steal from them. The gossip always thinks that somebody is talking about them. Don't judge the world by the state of your own mind. It could be anything coming at you. And again, people tell me, Lance, I still think it's not that bad. Look, I've been beat around a lot. I've been in situations. I've seen things. I'm not dropping my guard. But like a Lamborghini at the red light, that's not revving up. You hear the low hum of its engine. If it's, desires to tear off of that when the green light comes, it can zoom on pretty fast. I'm always ready for the most part. Now, if I'm deep in REM sleep, you might get me. But you got to pass a lot of barriers to get to that point. When you really clear your mind and keep yourself centered and still from within, but you have to get to that level of inner peace for you to get that radar. And everybody can get it. That gift of discernment. Everybody can get it. Just like everybody can go to the gym and build their muscles up for their potential. Doesn't mean they're going to beat the next guy or the next person out. If you want to run track, you can practice and get better. Doesn't mean you're going to win every race. You might be second place most of the time, third place. Maybe you might win here or there, but you can always improve. And the same thing that you see on a physical level is what you can get on a spiritual level. And some days when I don't even leave the house for 4 or 5 days, 4 or 5 days, don't even leave the house. And I finally go into town. Oh man, it's almost like I'm a mind reader. I'm not saying I have any abilities like that, but from the signs that are given to me, and you're so clear within yourself, it's like you're floating. And it's effortless. It's not like you're walking around with a magnifying glass, staring at everybody nervously. You're sitting there calm. And you can feel the vibrations of what's around you. You can feel people's frustrations. You can feel their joy. You can start a conversation with most people easily when you're at peace with yourself, because your peace pulls them into you. It takes them out of their madness, even if they're not on the verge of having a nervous breakdown. I'm just saying their problems. Animals gravitate towards you. Animals that might want to bite somebody else, when they see how calm you are, they come to you. They can feel your presence. You see what I mean? That's what I've learned. And they can see, animals can see your chaos. They can see your anger. They can see your deception. I've walked past dogs that just finished barking at other people, and they sit down and just look at me. Now, if I'm pissed off at something, they may pick up on that. That's how that works. Life never stops getting interesting because there's just so much to learn, whether it's through a book or a conversation or watching a program. There's always something to add to what you already know about the world. You might have to read a whole book to get one little nugget, but you can put that in your toolbox of life. And I love it. I learn stuff every single day. But to observe and have peace of mind and observe everything around you, as crazy as the world gets, your spiritual and your mental reflexes will get even sharper. We adapt. We adapt to our environment. And that's something we can be sure of. For some species, it can take millions of years, but on a spiritual level, if we're on, we're on. And that gives us the upper hand. That's why I don't want to get caught up in the madness, and some of the headlines out here are made to keep you in panic. And oh my God, I know people like that. Every time a different headline, you got to dissect it and see what the intention is. But I do believe the C-19 will come back. And the first one was a dry run. And just like I was in the conversation to me earlier, the job of that thing, taking that jab, and we're not talking about being a boxer. Now it's playing out 4 or 5 years after. Illnesses that are just out of nowhere for a certain bloodline or younger folks or whatever. We don't know. We live in a world where a person like Bill Gates, who's not even a doctor, can suggest things to countries and heads of states, accept him in. This will be great for birth control for everybody in Kenya. This will be great for this and this and that. I don't want it. I don't want it. That man's a devil. Queen J, how are you? Peace to you and much love and respect. Yes, indeed. So we got to really live by our wits right now. But always have a little time. I'm going to wrap this down soon. If anybody wants to come in, I'll drop the link again. If not, it's okay. I'll always offer that. But we got to get into ourselves and get in touch with ourselves and relate to the universe, to our creator, whatever you call it. It is what it is. If we were to truly know the creator's name, our heads would explode. As big as my head is, you don't want that. I'm not saying in a I think I'm bad. I'm saying physically my head is big. I ain't a lot of gigabytes, terabytes up in there storage. And so I can recall so many things. But yeah, we gotta have a certain part of our day where it's perfectly still, away from everybody. And we can reconnect and do our pre-flight for the day. Make sure you're okay. Make sure you're all right. Make sure your state of mind is right. If it's not right, your performance in the outside world amongst other people, it's not going to be the same. We get attacked with all this noise, the TV set, the computer, the phone, things that are sent to us all day long. You know what I mean? That's if we have this madness that we go out into the world with, when we get up with somebody else who's not right, unfortunate things happen. You end up locked up, dead, in a bad situation. You have to sense those people too. I've seen people with calm faces and calm demeanors, and I said, that person's on the edge. Let me kind of put a little distance between me and that person. I've been around situations like that. It's kept me here on this earth. you're in a club, which I was never really a club guy, but the times that I've been, coerced to go in, you have a feeling to leave and you leave and you get 3-4 blocks away and you hear the gunshots. Oh man, I'm so glad I listened to that voice. I don't know if I told you about this friend of mine, this Jamaican guy who he had a hookup, a connection with another friend of his, and they were going to have this party, right? And this was in a building probably 6, 7, 8, about 8 stories high. But it wasn't legit. He was legit. He brought his equipment. His friend brought the equipment. They made these flyers. What had happened is that one floor or 2 floors, I think, of this building that was being renovated, the guy who had something to do with the renovations and the connection, he let them go in there and bring their music and invite all of these people, but it only could hold so many people. I was in there. And what happened was there were so many people in there. I passed through, put it there. I wasn't there. Like, I wasn't a party guy like that. Not that kind of party. Hear that, Jack? But anyway, I'm there. Jamaican music is playing. Somebody on the other end broke out and they had their little food and everything, curry goat and peas and rice. And it was popping. Had the strung up lights, and it wasn't a club. It was a place that you could tell it was under bare floors, wood floors stripped down. But I noticed when we were dancing, I danced a little bit, that the floor was unstable. It just felt like a trampoline. The more you were in the middle, you felt that it felt like it was going up and down 2 and 3 inches under my feet. I said, this is not good. People were coming up the steps. There was no elevator. And pouring in. I said, something ain't right. I was walking toward the door, not running out of there, but I was walking toward the door. I turned around, people screaming, and fell through to the floor below them. The renovations that they were doing, the floor below, they removed the weight-bearing wall. It was all them people jumping up and down and fell. Some were injured really bad. Thank the Creator in Brooklyn, the ambulance, the police, everybody showed up. I was out. I mean, what could I do? But that was back in, I think it was 88, 89, most likely, 89 or 90. I think it made the newspaper, but that, stupid things happen all the time. But you got to be careful where you go. It wasn't where the building was ready for that. It was made for a club to hold up. And the weight-bearing wall, I found that was removed because they're doing renovations. They didn't anticipate anything like that. So there's so many things you have to be aware of. And I love being aware. I love it. I love it. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this down. I will be back on tomorrow night. We'll be getting up. Not early, but as soon as I get up, I'm on a mission tomorrow. So I will be back on around the same time tomorrow night. I'm going to get a good night's sleep. And I'm just glad that you all came through. I just had the feeling to put this type of show out. Not to demonize America, but for those who want to move there and think it's just so easy, I'm not here to discourage you. Just want you to know what you're getting yourself into. It's easier for those of us who were born and raised there or came there at a younger age to deal with the stresses. And for those of us who have done the right thing and set ourselves up, we're not going to feel it like that. There are success stories in America. I know them personally. Several of them are here. And a lot of people do things to themselves. They set themselves back and want to get bitter. Nah, you can make it there. But if they think, like out here in Ghana, oh, I want to go to America and I'm going to work for a good hard year and save up all my money, and I'm going to buy this house, and I'm going to get this car, and I'm going to, a year? Shoot. What you making every day? What? Just come there and just, man, you get your citizenship right. You got to do so much you got to do. What you have here is so valuable if you know how to cultivate it and work on a global level, international level. You can get all this land out here. You can grow exotic things that they need in America. Get a deal with Whole Foods. Get a deal with Walmart. You might sell your stuff cheap or cheaper, but they're going to distribute it to so many people that little bit that you get is way more than you would have gotten if you dealt locally. You got to think positioning. What is it that I have here that the world wants? What is it that I have as a talent that I can turn over in a way to make money? You all know the story I told you about that guy who lived in Brooklyn. He worked a job. He also had a garage, right? And he said the same thing to himself. What is it that I have here in abundance? So he knew people that owned office buildings and different corporate entities and different things. That's his circle. But he lived in Brooklyn, in the black neighborhood in Brooklyn. Well, he set up an agency in his garage where he can interview women who wanted to do cleaning jobs in a lot of the buildings, and he had to check out their background and make sure they were straight. And he got a cut of the money. He had so many different, and it was right there. It was effortless. Put out the phone number, have his fax machine, his computer, everything right there. Check their background, whichever way it is. I don't know how that works exactly, but that's how we have to think. That's why you have a brain. But our brain is numb now. It's been reduced. Our attention span is so short now. Gave us this big thing called social media. Even the ladies and the men, I'm not getting on that thing. I ain't telling them my business. Now they telling their business now. In the bathroom with one booty cheek on the sink and the duck lips and spread eagle and half naked. And them same women, I'm going to tell my business. But you're showing yourself now, right? And you don't understand how to utilize what that was. And now it gripped our mind. Those are the psychological crack pipes that we have. I use it. I'm on it all the time, but I'm a creator. I create stuff. I research stuff. I love my boxing and my bodybuilding. I'll look at that stuff. There's some other things that friends send me. But now we've been reduced. Shorts. 1 minute to 3 minute YouTube videos, or up to 3 minutes now. Shorts. You scroll. You're looking at things that you really wouldn't look at. And it captivates you. You look around, man, I've been in this thing for 2.5 hours. Time now moves so much more faster. When you were in school and you focused on something so intense, you had a test, 100 questions, and they gave you 2 hours, and you trying to get it right. You look around, boom. When you're done, you're like, oh man, I've been here for a long time. And that's how it takes your mind. Now you have things that can do things for you, Chat GPT, different things, but that takes you away from yourself and you depend on the external. It's robbing your essence. It's harder to think now. Most people's minds are breaking down earlier. I'm forgetting things. I can't remember things. Hey, you remember back in the day before we had cell phones, you knew all the people in your family, you knew their phone numbers, your friends, your family. Tell me how much you know now. Look at all the numbers you have in your phone now, and you don't remember but a handful of them. But back in the day, I remember my old phone numbers from when we left Manhattan and moved into Queens. 718-659-7839. 718-322-9815. See that? And other numbers. Old friends of mine, I remember their numbers by heart. Can't do it now. It's just so many numbers now, but we don't have to memorize it. Just push a button. Your phone messes up. You start getting scared. Oh, man, I won't be able to call so-and-so. How can I do it? Oh, I know. Let me get on Facebook. You start hitting them direct. Now, if they're not on Facebook, you screwed. We're being robbed of our brilliant minds. So we scroll and scroll and scroll and get hypnotized. Go to bed and have all kind of weird dreams. Giant gain. How are you, my dear sister? You original Scurvite. We're not in control of our minds as much as we used to before. We can't sit still anymore. And I'll end on this. What time is it now? It's 12:19. That's still early for me, even though I used to. One point I was getting up 4 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock every morning. I'm gonna start doing that again. But oh God, what was I gonna say? See, I'm online too much. I'm forgetting. But that human to human connection, eye contact, sitting across the table from a loved one and enjoying a dinner. Families together, sitting down, having a dinner together. That may not always be possible because the work schedules and we live in 24-hour places now. But wouldn't it be nice to have a place or be in a place when, well, that's where I am now. I'm up in the mountains. Right now, down in Accra, it's busy, 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 busy. Still in certain areas. Certain areas now. It never stops. But once the sun goes down here, and you had a full day, you start nodding out. So right now, I'm on artificial time by being up so late. Because right now, as we speak, I'm hearing crickets. Crickets all year round. The owls come around every now and then. The bats are flying around outside, fighting over papayas. You hear the birds in the morning time, the dogs barking, and you hear some things out there. I don't know what it is. I'm not going out there. Things hop walls too. I was up on my top floor looking out the window at one of my balconies, and guess what I saw? A snake. A snake. Yep. And I know we're not supposed to kill God's creatures, but I got that machete and I went out there and I got it. There was one that climbed up on the top balcony on the other side of the house, same way. So you got to watch out for these things. And they see you and run. If you get aggressive toward it, it'll come get you. If that thing bit me, I would have had all kind of problems. So this is why at night up here, you better walk in a well-lit place. Like, you couldn't pay me now. I don't know why I'm rambling right now, but you couldn't pay me to walk all the way down to my backyard. Lance, I'll give you $1 million to walk all the way down to your backyard and touch the wall and come back up. Now, I don't know. I might have to, put on some jeans, 2 or 3 pairs of jeans, some combat boots, some construction boots, and cover up. I'll do it then. I'm not going out there with my bare flesh, my shorts, my legs all out. I don't know what can get up and bite me. And it's dark back there. It's dark. All kind of stuff moving around. Mad guns forever. Yes, the Scurvinator's here. Yes. Yes, Sweetberry. Yeah, they a flat wall, they'll climb up. Yep. That was a baby python that I killed. There was a big one that we killed. I think I have it up on Instagram. So long ago. It's big. And I found out that when it rains and then the temperature drops and it's moist and cold for here. Cold for here. Now you can have the coldest night here, and it's kind of cool at night up in the mountains. Like, yo, I thought this was Africa. It's supposed to be hot all the time. Sometimes it gets like that because we're up in the mountains. But those snakes, when every time any type of precipitation comes down, the temperature will drop. So in the daytime, the next day when the sun comes up after a cold night, cold for here, and moisture, the snakes want to come out from that and come and lay out in the sun, lay out on the dry soil, especially the mountains. You go higher up and everything drains. That's when you start to see them. Not a lot, but you just might see one here and there. Plus, even with this wall that I have around this property, they'll climb that too. Climb up high up, 3 stories up. How'd you get up here? But that's nature. But I don't think they'd come and just see you and just come after you and bite you. But You fall asleep, and I have a lawn chair on one of them balconies. I go out there and lay out in the sun and fall asleep. I fall asleep with one eye open. So either you in the hood with one eye open, trying to defend yourself or catch something before it happens, or you're way out in the country still. But I prefer the real snakes. The human snakes are the ones that'll really do something to you. Yes. Let me see what Mad Gun said here. No, identify if it has fangs. If not, leave it. I never kill snakes. Grenada, whoever, I encountered 3 venomous snakes in Georgia. Wow. Well, the snakes have their purpose. It's just that, there's that side of it that's not, when I see them move and all that stuff, it's like, oh man. And it was like, where was it going? That's my thing. Where was it going? Because again, 2 weeks ago, well, that was last week. So I'll say 3 weeks ago. I'd say another scary one. Up in the highest floor in the back, there's a master bedroom, bathroom, and there's a balcony that runs from there all the way around to the other side of the house. I went, I have 2 windows, master bathroom, right? They slide out, screen and everything. Beautiful sight when you're looking over the mountains at night. Man, it's breathtaking. So something told me to go over to the second window and close it. So I opened up the screen and I was grabbing the actual window to slide it across. And in between the screen, a little space there, and the actual window, there was a little head looking at me. And lizards are always trying to push themselves up in places, and they'll run from you when they see you. So I'm looking eye to eye, maybe like 8 inches away from this little head, this little face. And I'm looking at it. I said, wait a second, that's not a lizard. It's not a lizard at all. So it was shining and the eyes are real beady. I said, I looked at the body of it. I said, that's a snake. Way up here on the 3rd floor and pushed itself. He couldn't have gotten inside because the screen was closed. You see? If the window was closed and the screen, he couldn't have gotten in. But I closed that screen so fast, and it kind of tried to wiggle backward. So I grabbed the machete again. I had an axe. I went inside, grabbed that, because I have machetes all over the house in hidden areas. That's my paranoia. And when I went outside on the balcony, I looked by the window, didn't see him. Look, this joker had climbed up under the roof line. And he was wiggling, holding on to the wall in magical fashion. And I tried to get at it, and it dropped. And it kind of snapped at me. It motioned like it wanted to, like, if you mess with me, I'm going to bite you type thing. And then he went and threw himself from that balcony to the one below by the kitchen area. And one of the drain pipes, he pushed himself through and dropped down to the ground level. I was like, wow, what is it about this place that they love so much? So walking at night through the street sometime, about 2 months ago, I'm walking down the street, dark out there, enough that you can see. And I wasn't even, there was a huge snake on the side of the road, because out there, there's no sidewalks. It's just a road and bush. And I looked again, and this snake, his body was as thick as my forearm the whole way through, and it was curled up, moving around. So is he trying to cross the street? I crossed the street. When I came back down, because I went up into town, I was like, listen, I'm taking a cab right to my door. I'm not going through the grass, But that's every now and then. And again, they leave you alone, but I do not want to deal, because you hear stories of the king cobras. They're not foreign to this part of the world. They don't mess with you. So many countless miles of bush and everything they can go to. But there are people that I've talked to, several people that have had relatives that got bit by them and were dead within an hour. Yeah, so those are the bad boys you got to watch out for. Giant game. Well, there goes my visit to you, brother. No, I can almost guarantee you it's not gonna, now if you go bushwhacking out on the side of these mountains at night, you're on your own that way. But no, most of the time, they don't, just have to exercise caution and keep your eyes open. It's just not going to jump on you like that. The mosquitoes will get you faster than anything else. But I haven't had that problem recently. There weren't many mosquitoes around this year, So yeah, there it is. Okay, everybody, I'm gonna sign off now. Snakes lives matter. Well, yeah, we'll save the animal snakes. The human snakes, I'm not into them. There's a lot of them around too, So we have a nice topic tomorrow night to speak about and talk about. And I'm looking forward to the Saturday show and just vibing this way. The human element, even though we're using technology, it's the human element behind all of it, at least for me. I'm not trying to get up here and be famous or be whatever. I'm just enjoying the talks we have with our family here. Anyway, much love to you all. Thanks for coming through. By the time you hit the sack, I'm gone down deep in the river sleep. Windows closed because I don't need no snakes to come and visit me, right? All right, y'all. Anyway, much love to you all. Take care. You all have a good night. Peace.
Nyana So, hello, this is Martha. Actually, today I got to meet my friend Lance. Yes, I got to meet my friend Lance. This is my first time meeting him in person, and he's a very kind man, seriously. I do talk with him on phone, on WhatsApp, but I've never got to meet him. But today, it's just extraordinary. He's very, anything you want to know about life, anything you want to know about just human, anything you want to know about life, please. YouTube, Telegram, Instagram, Twitter, all the social media channels, you got to find him there. He's very inspiring. He's very positive. If you want anything positive about life, please subscribe to Lancescurv. And then every day you got to see different videos, different talks, different topics about life. See you.